Hi, I'm Judith Helsing, I'm also on the ISAC Council. My question is there was a recent study that was done in the UK which compared the Wi-Fi and the mesh Wi-Fi to the LTE, and I thought was interesting results is that the mesh Wi-Fi tended to be a lot more robust and more usable for people who are doing video or doing doing websites or doing work, general work. And this was interesting as we were building out the networks, and as we need more places where kids can do work besides the Starbucks or some other places, that is there more talk of why don't we just expand the wireless and mesh networks and go that way, which is a cheaper proposition than the LTE expansion, or which is also expensive because of the data packets and the amount of data time that people are using when they have limited data minutes in their plan. So I thought.
Yeah, that's part of the PCAST and the spectrum talk that's there, that we want to have more local Wi-Fi and far more things projecting because you get way more capacity than you get from towers.
So speaking of innovation and dynamic competition and differentiated products, when the cable companies sold their turned out to be LTE spectrum, their spectrum to Verizon for $3 billion, they didn't exit the wireless business. They chose a different business model. Their business model is that there are over 100,000 Wi-Fi hotspots already constructed by the major cable companies led by Comcast today, Cablevision, Time Warner, they're all doing it, right? And their strategy is a different strategy. They're building out a mesh Wi-Fi network and they're investing in it. And that's available to Comcast customers today. It's a different business model. It's a differentiated product. It's not identical to LTE, which is not exactly identical to HSPA2. We're talking about differentiated products, and some people will find that preferable to paying $80 or $100 a month for an LTE connection.
Any other thoughts here about our choices on do we want to be building a bottoms-up network? Because there's a lot of people, Europe is already going that way very heavily.
I think the issue is, again, being circumstantial. I mean, you cannot look at the United States or Europe as just some undifferentiated territories, topographies, population densities. You actually have to think very locally, not nationally. Every one of these programs or problems are localized. Now, there's a lot of locality, so they all add up to some major problem. The private conversation I had with Jeff was, he mentioned that Manhattan, Nevada could get satellite broadband. Unfortunately not. Manhattan, Nevada can't even get satellite TV because they're in this bottom of a box canyon with a huge mountain chain running across the southern horizon, and they can't get a look angle to any of the satellites, except for the people who live on the far northern outskirts of this unpopulated territory. So they have a very specific problem. They can't even necessarily get satellite unless they built a community antenna for a satellite, which there are solutions. But that's the point. You have to look at these things very locally, not nationally. I don't see how Washington can solve the problems. State capitals, maybe. Local, it's just very localized. You're going to get governments involved. It's going to have to be someone who can make a specific decision, a policy decision, for a few hundred square miles, not for the entire nation, because it's just too different.
Right.